Before we get into today's episode, let's hop into our listener corner and go over some of our favorite replies from the previous episode. The question we asked was, what did you think the heretic found out that caused him to leave the EOA? What do you think his long-term goals are? And as always, you all gave some pretty good answers. The first reply comes from a listener called NRS saying, he probably will try to reform the EOA into a more MEG type of faction. Thanks for the reply, NRS. From what we could tell from the tape he left behind, it seems almost certain that his goals are aligned with those of the MEG, as they both seem to hold the well-being of Wanderers in high regard. So we can see him forming a new group with those ideals at the front of it all. The next reply comes from Vera saying, he could have figured out the true meaning behind their religion or what rules they're following to condemn people. Thank you so much for your reply, Vera, as that brings up some very good points. The EOA is a faction centered around a major entity known as Argos, hence its name. Because of this, the group can and should be seen in the light of a zealotry-filled religious group, or even cult if you would prefer. With that, their actions and goals may not be fully understood by those outside of the faction and should be looked at with some scrutiny. Thanks again for the reply, Vera. Thank you all for your amazing replies, and keep them coming. We love reading them. That's all for the Listener Corner, so let's get into today's episode. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Traveler's Guide to the Backrooms, where we try to go over and explain the lore of the many levels and entities within. My name is Sharp A3, an MEG AI processing system, and today, we'll be going over a place where a multitude of levels fold upon themselves. So, I hope you like strange geometry and dangers lurking all around, because today, we'll be clipping into level 38. Basic descriptions. Level 38 is the 39th level within the Backrooms and has a survival difficulty class of 5. That being unsafe, unsecured, and heavily infested with entities. To best describe level 38, it's best to visualize it as so. Take every level from 0 to 37, grab bits and pieces from them, be it visual aspects or theo-metaphysical traits they have, put them in a blender, let it go for about 30 minutes, then serve chilled with a nice cup of Lucchio milk. So in other words, it's a hodgepodge of every previous positive level thrown together. Because of this, it supports the best and worst of each of these levels and should be traversed with extreme caution. So with that slim description out of the way, let's hop into what can be found here. Appearances. So, as we touched on already, level 38 is a mashup of a multitude of levels, those being levels 0 through 37. Because of this, level 38 doesn't have a standardized layout, being a mix of all of these levels in one. So you could walk a few feet in the mono-yellow halls of level 0, then walk through 80 kilometers of level 10's wheat fields at a drop of a dime. These shifts seem to be seamless and for the most part, can be rather safe. Because of this aspect, level 38's physical landscape can be summed up into a couple of categories. That being the interior areas and the exterior areas. Both are pretty simple in what they represent, so instead of beating a dead horse with the concept, we'll talk about some of our favorite correlations regarding both areas of level 38. Starting with the interior areas of the level, some correlations that can be found are the darkness of level 6, some of the general layout of level 0, some machinery from level 20 can also be found here, the lovely aroma of a pizzeria from level 31, and some stalactites originating from level 8. There are many more we could have added, but wanted to keep this section at a reasonable length. Next up are the correlations for the exterior areas of level 38, though there aren't nearly the same amount of these as the previously mentioned areas. Starting us off, Wanderers can come across the distorted mountains as well as some of the settlements of level 29, while also coming across large areas of wheat fields that originate from level 10. While Wanderers can also come across facelings resembling those of level 11, cars normally found within level 35 can also be found scattered around. What might be the most interesting of the correlations is the chance of coming across the infamous unforgettable paradise that has enthralled many within level 14. As we said before, there are many other correlations we didn't touch on here, so feel free to go check them all out. We're sure there are many other strange quirks from the other levels that can be found within level 38, but just haven't been documented yet. So, if you found yourself here, be very aware of your surroundings, because not only have the physical aspects of these levels been adopted here, but many other underlying threats as well. But those are for later in the episode. Scavenge and supplies. When it comes to scavenging level 38, the prospect may seem alluring, but don't let that fool you. With all of the previous levels strangely being merging into a hodgepodge of liminal chaotic geometry, you could imagine all of the possible loot to be found, though with high reward comes high risk. Very high risk. From what we can gather, though decent items can be found here, the immense danger you would have to go through to get it may not be worth all the hassle for most. But for those willing to brave the dangers can expect many great finds, if they're brave or stupid enough to take on the challenge. Entities. Due to level 38 being a convergence point for levels 0 through 37, you can expect many of the entities found within them here. The list of entities that can appear here is quite large in scope, so we won't be going into much detail, but with the level also being classified as being heavily infested, be sure to have some sort of weapon for self-defense. It's almost a guarantee that you will run into a hostile entity at some point here, so being well prepared will greatly increase your chances of survival. Settlements and outposts. Currently, no document outposts or settlements are operating within level 38, though we do have records of one existing not too long ago. That would be the BNTG outpost designated as the Merchant. The purpose of this level was to help any wanderers who may have found themselves here from any of the previous upper levels. From what we've been able to gather, the Merchant failed due to the many threats in the form of entities throughout the level. With that being said, due to the vast dangers present here, level 38 should be skipped on the list of levels able to support civilization as a whole. The threat is just too great here to be worth the hassle. Something the BNTG has learned the hard way. Ins and outs. Entering level 38 is rather simple, all things considered. While traveling through levels 0 through 37, if you come across a distortion of reality, entering it has a fairly decent chance of bringing you to level 38. This mode of entry should be considered with caution, as entering the distortions also has a chance of sending you to level 263. So keep this in mind when trying to enter level 38. Now when it comes to exiting level 38, it's relatively the same as how you enter. Interacting with the distortions here can bring you to the level where the distortion is active within. So if you interact with a distortion within an area of level 38 that matches up with a level like level 0, you'll be sent to that level. This mode of exiting works for both the interior and exterior areas of level 38, though depending on where you are, it'll dictate where you'll be sent as well. Interacting with interior distortions will send you to the corresponding level which supports a mostly interior design. This same flow of thought applies to the exterior distortions as well. So they will send you to corresponding levels that mostly support an exterior design. The other way to exit out of level 38 is quite simple as well. Finding and riding a roller coaster within the exterior areas of the level, doing so may cause you to be clipped through the skybox of the level, bringing you to the blue channel, an enigmatic level we very much want to touch on at some point. But I digress. Closing words. So, that was level 38, the fold point. What did you all think about the level? What would be some cool level combinations do you think could be found here? We would love to hear what you all think. As always, if you have any questions, suggestions, or just want to say hi, feel free to join our Discord server or email us. Both will be in the show notes. That's going to be all for today's episode, so thanks for listening and we hope to see you all again soon. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and be safe out there. I would like to say a very special thank you to our patrons over at Patreon. Starting with the Wanderers at the $1 level, we have Nathan Gear, Sushi Penguini, Shelby Girl Gaming, Ridiculous, My Friends Call Me PK, EVGBs, Coconut Cluster, and Brandon Briers. As for our Junior Explorers, we have Kimmy H. Next up are our Senior Explorers at the $8 level. Starting us off, Teresa's Kylo Manny, Rachel, Nanacord, Brandon Berry, and Cassie Cast Iron Crow. Thank you all for going that extra step to support us and what we do. It's greatly appreciated. That's gonna be all from us today, so as always, thank you all for listening, and have a wonderful day.